After my last big video, I started working on survival mode. A major component of that are item drops, and a big open question was how do players collect them. Particularly how to handle the case of multiple players trying to collect the same one. Up until this point, I had just implemented all the inventory logic on the client side without bothering about the server. But we don't want to blindly collect items on the client side, because then two players could collect the same item drop at the same time, making it duplicate the item. So we need to synchronize these events somehow. Furthermore, I really want to support shared inventories that are editable by multiple players at the same time. So I might as well implement it properly right away. The common approach to any multiplayer problem seems to be client-side prediction with server-side validation. In the case of an inventory, it's actually quite simple to do conceptually. Essentially, every time the client makes an inventory operation, it stores some undo information for it until receiving a validation from the server. If the client receives another inventory operation in between, such as picking up an item, it has to revert all local operations, apply the server operation, and then reapply everything. This ensures that, in the end, both sides have the same timeline of events. And, except from rare conflicts, the player instantly sees the result of their operations. The hard part now is actually implementing all that, since you will need to define each command including undo information. For that, I decided to implement a smaller operation type that I call base operation. These only contain the essentials: creating, deleting, moving, and swapping items. It is trivial to define undo information for these. And then for the full inventory commands, I just break them down into these base operations. Now we have sent it to the server, but how do other players get the information? I cannot just tell it to swap items from the other player inventory, because it doesn't and shouldn't know the contents of other players' inventories. So for that, I also had to introduce a sync operation, which gets sent to the clients and only contains the true basics, creating and deleting items. The reason I separated these from base operations is because it's much easier to avoid mistakes if you can use swap and move operations. But in principle, I could have tried to combine the two. The next big problem is handling other inventory types. Like for example, doing a deposit or swap, the left-click operation, on a creative inventory shouldn't swap items. Instead, it should only replace the hand item. Similarly for crafting. If I click a crafting result slot, then I cannot put stuff there, it's a take-only slot. Furthermore, it should consume items based on the recipe. So, about 1000 lines of special cases and glue code later, I finally was done. And now I've got a robust multiplayer inventory system that is safe against all kinds of duplication problems, and incidentally also safe against hacked clients. Now, with the side goal of syncing inventories done, I could finally get back on track, working on some optimizations. I worked on making rendering less CPU bound. Huh? Oh, that was not the original goal. Right. Okay. With the optimizations done, I could finally get back on track working on... What is that? People want beaches, huh? That gives me an idea for a transition biome system. It's going to be great. What did I want to do again? Alright, time to get back on track with some more optimizations. Oh wait, survival mode, right. Next up is block breaking and placing. And back we go into the inventory system. Yes, you heard that right. Block breaking and placing needs to be synchronized with the inventory. Why? Because it consumes durability or items. In fact, I realized almost anything needs to be in some form synchronized together with the inventory, like game mode, health, basically all player data. I might even end up having to send player positions through the system as well. But that's a different can of worms to open on another day. And there you have it. Synchronization is easy, but synchronizing an entire game is hard. I would like to apologize for the late video. All of this information is from last year, and I've been steadily implementing many more features since then that I would like to show off. But last September I started working a full-time job, and I don't really have much time making videos anymore. And to make things worse, depending on how you look at it, Cubyz has become more popular, and right now we have around 6 active contributors. On the one hand, I am grateful for that, but it also takes a lot of time to review their changes, and it can be quite frustrating for both parties. This year alone I have reviewed over 200 pull requests, and the number of issues has also grown rapidly. We just reached 500 open issues a few days ago. Quite a scary milestone. Maintaining an open source project is getting tougher than I thought, and everyone seems to want to tackle the big problems, which require difficult design decisions. Like entities, particles, chests and block entities, tick events, physics changes, block damage, modding, world edit, a better tree generator, explosions. So if you're thinking about contributing, or already are, then I'd appreciate it if you didn't start another big topic and instead focused on bug fixes and small improvements, which are easier to review and honestly just as helpful, if not more. That's it for today. Goodbye.